The issue isn't regime change, it could be regime collapse. It's not going to be engineered from the outside, but it could come from within. I suspect the real point of vulnerability may not be right now, but it may be over time and when the supreme leader dies. Authoritarian regimes, almost by definition, never have worked out what the succession plans are. It creates a struggle.
With the internal infrastructure problems in Iran, and now the loss of the, at least for the immediate future, of the nuclear capacity, in which Iran took a great deal of national pride, the way that Pakistan had as well.
Right.
How stable or unstable is the current leadership? It seems vulnerable. There are a lot of vacancies, and there are internal reasons for the people of Iran to do what we have heard from J.D. Vance, what we've heard from Donald Trump, regime change, words that we have heard before with obvious conclusions to.
I will say, in answer to the regime change, I think it's an understatement to say we're not good at regime change. We tend to produce the opposite of what we tend to seek. But the issue isn't regime change, it could be regime collapse. It's not going to be engineered from the outside, but it could come from within. Do I think that we're on the brink of that? I don't know. No one has ever predicted regime change and when regimes will fall. It's really hard to tell that. No one predicted that the Assad regime would fall in 8 days, but the rot from within was so great, it quickly collapsed. Are the Iranians at the same place where Assad was? I don't tend to think so, because I think I have felt there's about 20% of the population that kind of depends upon the regime. The key to seeing if there's going to be a real brittleness to this regime is, do we see signs of dissonance in the security establishment, in the Revolutionary Guard, in the Basij? If there are protests and there's a hesitancy on the part of the Basij officers to fire on the public, that would be a pretty good indicator. If there's signs of, I would say, some disintegration of the Revolutionary Guard or real distance within it, that would be an indication. We haven't seen those at this point. That doesn't mean they could not emerge. I suspect the real point of vulnerability may not be right now, but it may be over time and when the supreme leader dies. Authoritarian regimes, almost by definition, never have worked out what the succession plans are. It creates a struggle. What has sustained the Iranians is that when you look at the security establishment, whether it's the Revolutionary Guard, the Basij, the Ministry of Intelligence and Security, they have all been in sync with each other. When they're in a succession period, there tends to be a competition among those groups. And if there's a competition among those groups, some of them will reach out to the public as a way of trying to acquire some greater legitimacy in that competition. That'll be the moment, I think, when this regime will become much more vulnerable. Maybe, I'll put it this way, I think they believe they're more vulnerable than they may actually be. That psychology, that perception, can feed on itself.
Hi, I'm Janice, and I am co-founder of Jews United for Democracy and Justice, as well as the America at a Crossroads weekly virtual town hall series. If you like this video, don't just watch. Head over to our website where you can subscribe for early access to new programs, see our upcoming schedules, and participate in our weekly live streams. You can also connect directly with our guests live on Zoom. Head over to JewsUnitedForDemocracy.org. Thanks for watching.
Presumably, the Israeli military has created a list, a hierarchy of targets, those that they absolutely have to be able to hit if they're going to seriously set back the Iranian nuclear infrastructure, and if they're going to seriously set back the ballistic missile production capability as well. Maybe there are targets beyond that that are important, but not absolutely essential, and maybe there's some beyond that that are seen as desirable. My sense is that there was an understanding that the objective, this gets to the heart of the second part of your question, you couldn't destroy the nuclear, the capacity to reconstitute, but you could make it really difficult to reconstitute. Look at what the Israelis have done. It's not just that the entire leadership of the military and Revolutionary Guard they wiped out. As I said, they've been together since the Iran-Iraq War, 30 years. That's not easy to replace. But it's more than that. They killed the top 11 nuclear scientists. They're not easy to replace.
11 out of 12.
Right, that they have been the backbone of this. So you can say, look, they have a know-how, but the people who are running this, organized it, shaped it, they're all dead right now. So it's not that they can't reconstitute it because, once you have the know-how, you can't do away with the know-how. But all the engineering that's required, and building the facilities again, at a time when the country is in shambles economically, and there's an alienation of the public, maybe there's been some rally around the flag, nationalism, but that's a short-term reality because they're gonna come face to face with how grim their reality is afterwards. And the idea that this regime will then use all of its resources to try to rebuild, and you're going to rob a public that already is angry over what they're missing and rationing and that, I think, would put the regime at much greater risk. And I think they're quite sensitive to that. So this is not a simple thing to recoup.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Dennis Ross. We will have programs coming up, the usual Wednesday program and more programs next week for you to follow. Mayor Karen Bass on July 2nd. And all through the summer, we're going to be catching up and keeping up with what's going on. Thank you for your eyes and your ears and your support of this program. You can see a link on how you can support it further. I'm Pat Morrison, and I thank you very much for giving us this part of your evening.